Look at Highway 64 from Murphy to Manteo, which takes us from the mountains out to the coast with lots of fun and interesting places along the way. Now this evening, Roy looks at all the things that make Highway 64 so unique.
Just the fact that Highway 64 is the state's longest makes it noteworthy. Perhaps that's why we chose it as the focal point of our trip. So, to begin my research, I visited the Department of Transportation in Raleigh, looking for those little details that make a story interesting.
In 1925, it was considered a county road, 20-foot graded county road.
20 feet? That's an awfully narrow road.
Well, basically, you could travel, you could meet another car on there. The size of the cars during that time were smaller than they are now, so they could pass. They'd have to be very careful.
And some parts of the road aren't much wider today. I remember that stretch along the Cullasaja River where the only thing between us and a 100-foot drop was a little teeny-weeny stone wall. From this point high up top Chimney Rock, we can see Highway 64, 1,300 feet below us. It goes off in that direction into the Piedmont. This is where we leave the mountains and enter the Piedmont. I can see about, 75 miles from up here. Highway 64 didn't start out as all one road. It was made up of all kinds of roads, from wagon tracks to superhighways. And it's still changing. Occasionally, part will be rerouted, and more 4 lanes being built. Now, this sign is just outside of Manteo if you're westbound on Highway 64. It says Murphy, North Carolina, 543 miles, but that's not quite right. Actually, according to the state, since the highway has been rerouted around the old Highway 90 route, it is now, let me get this correct, 614.87 miles, quite a bit further. Here at the eastern end of Highway 64, they have their own very special brand of spectacular scenery and wildlife, too. Have you ever watched the endangered osprey? And has it ever occurred to you that when you live on an island, you can watch both the sunrise and the sunset over the water? On Highway 64, Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News.
Roy Ackland and videographer David Weatherly as they travel Highway 64 from Murphy to Manteo.
It was 4.5 centuries ago that Hernando de Soto passed through southwestern North Carolina. Then the only residents were Indians. So how did the town of Murphy come to be? The museum should have the answer. Perhaps Murphy's first real claim to fame was the location of Fort Butler. That was General Winfield Scott's headquarters. You might remember he's the one that rounded up the Cherokees and headed them up the Trail of Tears from right here. This one-room schoolhouse in the Cherokee County Museum represents the father of education in North Carolina, Archibald Dubrow Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-E-Y. The town is named after him, but ironically, it was originally misspelled. It's now M-U-R-P-H-Y. The town has grown over the years, but in a most orderly manner. The old buildings are in perfect condition. Even the mayor has been in office for the past 24 years.
I was born here, raised here, and I love it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere without the mountains.
And most of the Murphy residents we talked with felt the same way.
I like the mountains.
Mountain air.
Even the four-legged residents like Murphy's facilities. Cherokee County has had its share of courthouses. The current one is number 5. Made of the local marble, we're told it's one of only 3 left in the state with the 10 Commandments carved into giant marble tablets in the courtroom. The town's slogan is Murphy in the heart of the hills, which could be the reason not too many tourists find their way here. And that could be a blessing in disguise.
To come here, they don't want to leave. If they're passing through here and stay a week or two, they won't stay.
Very understandable, but in our case, this is the beginning of an adventure, and we have to go on an adventure that will take us the length of Highway 64 from Murphy to Manteo. Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News.
Concentration of waterfalls in the state as they travel from Murphy to Manteo.
Without a doubt, the crookedest, windiest part of Highway 64 is where it follows the Cullasaja River Gorge. The views are spectacular. You might say they're gorgeous. And so are the drop-offs. Sometimes hundreds of feet to the river below. But I'll remember this area the most for the waterfalls. course, all of these beautiful waterfalls have their own name. But sometimes a name can be deceiving.
When you pull into the parking lot, the sign says Dry Falls. Well, at first glance, it seems that they got the name wrong. But what they're talking about is the fact that you can stay dry as you walk underneath the falls. Well, almost dry.
And for those who don't want to get wet or go for a hike, you're in luck. Now, this waterfall isn't the biggest waterfall on Highway 64 by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one of my favorites because you can drive under it. It's called Bridal Veil Falls. Actually, there's a lot you can see without getting out of the car. This is called Toxaway Falls. But for the more athletically inclined, the hike is worth it.
This has got to be the ultimate. This is the highest waterfall, or set of cascades anyway, in the eastern United States. This is Whitewater Falls, and it's beautiful.
Well, I'm from Arizona, and there's a lot of beautiful country there, but this is the most magnificent waterfall I've ever seen.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's just gorgeous.
When you're trying to describe scenery like this, it's easy to run out of superlatives. So we'll let this section of Highway 64 speak for itself.
Visit Chimney Rock.
Where the mountains meet the Piedmont stands a familiar landmark. The huge granite pillar called Chimney Rock rises 2,280 feet above the plateau.
Legend has it that the Cherokee Indians used to build their signal fires on the mountain back behind this rock, and the smoke looked like it was rising from the rock itself, hence the name Chimney Rock. In 1885, the first wooden steps were built to get to the top here, and man, is it worth it.
On a clear day, you can see all the way across Lake Lure to the Piedmont. A St. Louis doctor, Lucius Morse, built the first road to the rock in 1916. He then built an inn called the Cliff Dwellers. That was a favorite honeymoon spot until it was torn down in 1949. But there's more to see, and some friendly folks to help you see it.
Those wet places might be a little bit slick, so you better watch out.
Elizabeth Feil is familiar with these trails. She should be. She's walked them for several years as the park's naturalist.
They invited me in at one time to come into the park. We had lived here for about 12 years and never been in here because we absolutely boycotted tourist traps.
Yeah, I do know.
So I got in here and I really fell in love with the place.
And in love with the rare and beautiful things that grow on this rock.
This is this little Arctic tundra grass, sedge, the deer hair bulrush. It also grows here in this crack.
Elizabeth says the deer hair bulrush is just one of the rare plants found in this microclimate. Normally, you'd have to go to Alaska to see them grow. Now, if you come to Chimney Rock, expect to do some walking, but the trails are fun and the sights are spectacular, like Hickory Nut Falls. On Highway 64, Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News, was laying around in the dirt. So Dave and I decided to try our luck. We rolled up our sleeves, dug in. Hiddenite is a jewel of the town near Statesville. We found it as we took the Volkswagen down Highway 84 from Murphy to Manteo. Ever since a feller named W.E. Hidden discovered gemstones in Alexander County, folks have searched for their fortunes there. And some have struck it rich.
These two stones were cut out of the same crystal. This is a 16.30 carat, appraised at $48,000. The smaller is the better quality, no flaws or inclusions, very consistent color, appraised at $184,000.
And with a nice little find like this, it's no wonder that people that came for the afternoon get hooked.
Mike.
Yeah.
What's this? What's this?
Boy, you found a leverite.
Leverite. What's that?
Mm-hmm. It's no good. That means you leave it right where you found it.
Leverite. The wise guy's Mike Watkins. He owns the place and knows all there is to know about gemstones.
This is amethyst, a small piece. Wipe it off a little bit. We'll hold it up toward the light. and we're getting just a little purple hue through it.
Kenneth Harrison likes it here so much he quit his job and now digs full-time. And John Wood, you can find him here just about any weekend.
I just try to clean the material. I use just a little bit of material at a time and see what you can find in it.
If you're not inclined to wash your gemstones in the sluice, you can find them pre-washed in the creek.
Now, we actually find all 63 different gems and minerals are found on this property here in the creek. They take a different form. There's gold in the creek.
So, if you're a genuine rock hound or just have rocks in your head, the Hiddenite Mine has something for you. Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News.
We venture to a spot with lots of uplifting qualities. The Balloon Works is along Highway 64 in Statesville, on the way from Murphy to Manteo.
The rattan itself is a member of the grass family, and it's solid. It looks like bamboo, but it isn't. You can see part of it here.
Sidney Conn knows a lot about rattan. Good thing, too. Lives depend on it. These are the baskets that fly under a hot air balloon. Skilled craftsmen weave them for their beauty as well as strength, bending the wet fibers into a basket that'll give but never break. The canopy, or the balloon itself, is made up of hundreds of panels, each one cut, then sewed to the next with a special patented seam that has to meet FAA specs. After all, this is an aircraft.
The final test is done here in the field when we put all of the components that belong to this system together and make sure that under load, under actual flight conditions, that it's perfect.
Now, this balloon goes through about 30 tests. Actually, it just passed a very difficult one, that is getting me off the ground.
What they're looking for is any potential problem, a pucker in the fabric or any unnecessary strain on a line.
This is a lot of fun. You see them lying around in little bits and pieces on the floor, and you know, it's really nice to see the end product of all the work and the engineering.
Flying the balloon is the easy part. Now for the hard part.
When we lay this down, you have 350 pounds of fabric that we have to skinny, okay, to take all the hot air out. You're milking it down, okay, so it'll go back up in its pack-up bag.
Takes 2 husky men to get a machine that wants to fly to stretch out on the ground, and then that pack-up bag. Well, took lots of grunting and groaning, but they did it. I suppose you're all sitting there expecting me to say the balloon business has more than its share of ups and... But I'm not going to say it. In Statesville, on Highway 64, Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News. Bigfoot the Clown is really Bill Brown of Ramseur. His fuzzy friend is named Charlie, and they are both extremely friendly.
Charlie, can I pet him? Is that all right? Oh, look out, Charlie. Look out here. Look out here. Charlie, behave yourself, man. Behave yourself, man. Look out, Charlie. Look at that.
Oh, isn't that nice? Charlie's Bill's pet raccoon. Bill says he's a puppet, but I'm not so sure. As a team, they have one goal: to put a smile on your face.
It does my heart good to see people laugh, and it makes you feel good that you put a joy, put a smile in their heart, because a smile is great medicine.
Kids are Charlie's specialty, and when he puts the show, or should I say really big shoe, on the road, you'll see why they call him Bigfoot. Bill's not a rich man, and you might say he operates on a shoestring, and you know he's not a heel because he's got a lot of soul. As for the motorized shoe, the townspeople really get a kick out of it.
As a clown driving around in a giant shoe. And
you go down the road and clown suit, and people laugh and your head off. Many times I've seen people laugh so hard they can't hardly drive.
Well, so far he hasn't caused any wrecks, and when asked where you get a shoe car fixed, the shoe shop or garage, Bill winks and says it's a secret, but admits it has been towed. I think it'll last forever.
On Highway 64, Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News.
David Weatherly found a man who not only remembers them, but opened his own theater in an old trailer near Siler City to carry the Old West tradition on to the next generation of closet cowboys.
The pathway from Milo Holt's front door to this old trailer is well worn, and it leads from the present to the past. Is a Western movie buff. He remembers those wonderful Saturday matinees as a kid, and he decided to keep them alive for new generations. He had some old two-reelers and a projector, and he made the old trailer into a theater.
The first night I had it wired up, some people came in, and for nights and weeks and months there's someone here all the time.
Milo estimates 25 to 30,000 people have come to his trailer. And what's the magic formula that keeps people coming back for more old-time Westerns?
They can't imagine a movie being made nowadays without any profanity or anything in it like that, you know. And I think they're bewildered to see one so clean, you know.
Milo has several scrapbooks filled with autographed pictures of stars of the silver screen. Many of them he knows personally.
Let's test this now.
Milo's a celebrity in his own right around these here parts. Why, he's even got his own cheering section.
I reckon we all had our dreams, you know, either a ball player or a cowboy or something like that. Oh, we've been accused of being the boy that never grew up and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Is it true, Milo?
Yeah, I think afraid so. I'm happy to say it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that keeps you young. That's all right with me.
Just outside Tarboro, where the prize stretches way back to its roots.
Town in the country incorporated solely by blacks. The original inhabitants lived here as slaves.
After they were freed, they decided to stay on. And then they proceeded to build a town.
As the sign says, the community, originally named Freedom Hill, changed its name to Princeville in 1885.
Princeville is just like any other sleepy little southern town. The local policeman goes efficiently about his business. The town clerk accepts water payments. Folks meet and chat and continue on their way. They like it here.
Yeah. I like the country. I was born and raised down here. This is where I want to stay for the rest of my life.
The town is based on love of family and religion. The first public building built was this church, and today a strong sense of community keeps the town growing and the church full.
Princeville is unique. It's a unique town, and we're very proud of it. We're proud of the accomplishments we have made, and come visit us.
Yeah. Thanks for the hospitality, Mayor, and Princeville. A refreshing stop on Highway 64. Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News. The red wolf was extinct in the wild, but thanks to the efforts of the Fish and Wildlife Service, they're being restored to North Carolina's Alligator River Wildlife Refuge. You gotta get up pretty early to see a wolf, so we did. Along with wildlife biologist Mike Phillips, we got into a plane equipped with radio tracking equipment. There's an antenna on each wing strut.
Each wolf wears a radio collar that produces a unique signal that allows us to track to the animal's location. The signal is picked up by this receiver that's tied into a switch box, and to locate the wolf is a simple matter of eliminating possibilities. I keep turning in the direction the signal is strongest, and eventually my turn's in a very small, tight circle. The wolf has to be right below the plane. Do it again there, Tucson. It looked like it was just inside that barn. These guys love the farm field. Lots of mice, rats, rabbits, raccoons. Good eating for a wolf. Right there. Right here. Throw them up in the ball. See him?
It really works. But how do you put a radio transmitter on a wolf? And why go to all this trouble anyway? We'll have to do some walking to find out.
Well, the objective is to reintroduce a population of red wolves to Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge. We're doing that by acclimating wolves in pens for a period of 6 to 10 months or a little bit longer. We then release them into the wild, monitor their activities, and if they survive and reproduce, we'll be successful. We're trying to force him in a corner and just have him stop in there on his own.
This family group is being prepared for release into the wild. This means a series of tests, some shots, and a radio transmitter.
All of these things have to be done. Just put a little check mark by it.
Now, the pups are too small for a radio collar, so it's up the road to Elizabeth City where a veterinarian has an answer to that problem. You put the puppy to sleep, a simple operation, and he's radio equipped.
In this bag is the implant. It's just like the one we put in the pup. It'll transmit for about a year. By then, the pup will be big enough for a full-size collar.
Now, don't forget, the goal of this whole operation is wild wolves. The animals you see here will soon join their friends in the wild at the Alligator River Refuge.
And David Weatherly found last was certainly not least.
And this evening, they traveled to the town of Manteo, home of our nation's first British colony, and named for the chief who may have caused its demise.
The first thing you see as you arrive on Roanoke Island is Fort Raleigh. Not much left, just earthworks.
It's made of earth. It's a small earthen mound. That's what they built. But I'm afraid a lot of people come expecting to find an old Wild West type fort. And so they'll walk all the way down to the Waterside Theater and come back to the visitor center and say, now, where's that fort you were telling me about?
The Waterside Theater is the home of the nation's oldest outdoor drama, The Lost Colony. It's based on speculation as to what happened to the original settlers. Well, that's one theory. The other one is they just moved away. Even today, people come and people go, but the citizens of the town of Manteo call it the tourist trade. It's the way they make their living. This is the Elizabeth II. It's a replica of the ship that brought the original colonists here. Now, they had a lot in common with people that come here today. That is, they have a love of the water, good fishing, and safe harbor. Michael Scott came to visit, and he stayed. And he's not afraid to say why.
It's the people that make the place. And in this town, the people are so nice and so willing to help you it bowls me over. I had a hard time adjusting to it.
My town is probably the most wonderful place in the world to live. I think it is anyway. Yeah. I think the people here are absolutely fantastic. I think that the whole atmosphere here, the air, everything about it is beautiful and lovely, and I think it's the only place to live.
But folks in Manteo would rather keep it a secret. And I've been sworn to secrecy. So, from the eastern end of Highway 64, Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News.
Colony, and it's in Manteo. It tells the tale of some settlers who disappeared and some Roy's folks who flocked to it.
Winston-Salem's Emily Maddox is warming up with the rest of the dancers this evening, but because of an injury, she has to teach part of her routine to someone else.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
The Lost Colony is the perfect place for aspiring actors and dancers to practice their art.
I didn't have anything to do, and I wanted to dance. I wanted to do something with it over the summer instead of sit at home all summer long with a job. And they said this was the great place to come. You could get paid for it, and it's my first professional job.
Kevin Brady is from Elkin. He's been lifting scalps around these parts for 3 years now.
His name's Upawak, and he's the Indian medicine man. And he protects his tribe, and all of his little chants and spells don't really do much good, but to his tribe, they think he's some big hot shot or something.
Maybe it was old Upawak's magic, but as the name implies, the Lost Colony is about the fact that the original colonists just disappeared. So, of course, the big mystery of the Lost Colony is what happened to the inhabitants. People say it was the Indians. I don't really believe that. Well, now, don't let this performance keep you from seeing the play. I'm not really in it. At the Lost Colony, Roy Ackland, WGH Piedmont News.